And there are surgeries that are absolutely necessary. In almost all cases, a total knee replacement isn't one of them. It's a last resort. So before you opt for a total knee replacement, if you haven't been to Rejuvenex, you may find that we have treatments that can give you the relief you're looking for. They're FDA approved, and they can alleviate pain, in many cases significantly. And insurance could cover a big portion of, if not all of our treatment costs. The osteoarthritic pain you're feeling will only worsen, and that's why you should take action now. This is Richard Salinas, registered nurse with Rejuvenex Arthritis Clinics, where we can alleviate your pain and rejuvenate your life.
Alleviate your pain, rejuvenate your life.
Go to rejuvenex.com to request your free pain evaluation.
Hi, WTMJ Sandy Max here to tell you about my friends at 3 Pillars in Dousman, the top-rated senior community in the state. They're building a one-of-a-kind active adult community, The Fields at 3 Pillars, on their 300-acre campus in Lake Country, and it's opening in 2025. Attend an upcoming info session and get a free lunch. Tour the campus, check out all the high-end finishes going into the Fields, and learn more about their expansion. Get all the info at 3pillars.org or call 262-965-3404 today.
Now your ideas do not have to wait. Dell Technologies and Intel are pushing what technology can do. Bring your ideas to life at Dell.com.
WTMJ, W277CV, and WKTI HD2 Milwaukee from the Annex Wealth Management Studios. This is News Radio WTMJ, a Good Karma brand station. Breaking news as it happens. Stay up to date with your trusted and relevant source in news, sports, traffic, and weather. We are Wisconsin's radio station. News Radio 620, WTMJ, Milwaukee.
Of 61 from the WTMJ Breaking News Center, I'm Jessica Gatzo. Helene is now a Category 4 hurricane approaching Florida's shores quickly, making landfall later tonight. ABC Chief Meteorologist Ginger Z is in St. Petersburg.
So all day we had offshore wind, which here in St. Pete pushes water from the bay right onto us. But now it's gone south and it will go southwest. And what that does is takes the ocean and push it onto land. So we're seeing Madeira Beach, Treasure Island taking on a lot of water. We saw this in Idalia, which was a weaker storm. We're going to see piles of sand. We'll see things moved on some of those beaches. And around here, it's still in the 4 to 8 category for peak surge. And high tide is at midnight. So we're going up from here water-wise.
20 of Florida's counties are all under mandatory evacuation. A vacate order from a homeless shelter. The Journal-Sentinel reports Men's Shelter Guest House of Milwaukee is ordering over 40 people living in tents in its garden to leave the property by October 12th or else be removed by police. Guest House says violence and drug activity in the encampment and planned renovations to the gardens are the primary reasons. The encampment has existed for about 4 to 5 months. Milwaukee County Sheriff's Office says they are not involved because the property is owned by Guest House and the eviction order is not court-ordered. 13 former employees at a Malaysian latex gloves supplier for Kimberly-Clark have filed a lawsuit against the company, alleging they were trafficked, abused, and provided unsanitary company housing with barely edible food.
In a statement to the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, the plaintiffs say their housing was a, quote, crowded, stifling hot dorm infested with insects, and that meals were sometimes contaminated with cockroaches. They also allege that they would be fined if they tried to cook anything for themselves. Kimberly-Clark is based in Texas, but was founded in Neenah and still has offices and manufacturing facilities in the Fox Valley. In a statement to the paper, the company says the lawsuit is, quote, entirely unfounded and has asked for the case to be dismissed. Adam Roberts, WTMJ News.
Shops and restaurants along North Avenue on Milwaukee's east side are navigating slower business as road construction continues. Leo Malou works at Yo Factory and tells TMJ4 News while their foot traffic has stayed at pre-construction levels.
I think our biggest issue right now is the DoorDash and Uber Eats drivers and everything trying to get to us. Not a lot we really can do. I mean, can't stop construction.
New asphalt and lane restripping, ADA-compliant sidewalk curb ramps, and concrete barriers for permanent bike lane protection should be completed by the end of the year. His number 2 hangs from the rafters at Fiserv Forum, and now he owns a significant minority ownership stake in the Milwaukee Bucks.
Junior Bridgman played 711 games for the Milwaukee Bucks, spanning 10 seasons in the 70s and 80s. And now he's back with the franchise in a much different capacity.
When this opportunity presented itself, it just seemed like a natural thing for me.
One of Bridgman's goals? To be a resource to players, especially when considering life after basketball.
I had that same help when I was a player, and it came from Jim Fitzgerald, who owned the team. That would be as helpful as anything you can say about playing basketball.
Greg Matzik, WTMJ News.
The 71-year-old Bridgman joins a Bucks ownership group that includes Jimmy and Dee Haslam, Wesley Edens, Jamie Dinnan, and Mike Fazzatelli. Sports, traffic, and weather are next. Sighting Unlimited, WTMJ News Time is 8:03.
The new fractured boulders we now have in stock are really nice. They're squarer and more rectangular in shape, and they're great for building dry-laid retaining walls. They're much easier to deal with, lock together nicely, and you get less gaps. No wet mortar needed. And we've stocked a multitude of colors. You can use them as an accent item to add character to your dry river or creek beds, too. Erickson's Landscape Supply. High-quality mulch and stone for a whole lot less. Commercial or residential, visit ericksonslandscapesupply.com to see our entire selection. Our organic mulch is comprised of all trees. Most mulch is made from ground-up pallets, and you don't know what might have been spilled on those pallets. Could be chemicals or who knows what. But not our mulch, we're recycling trees. Many species of hardwoods: cedar, hemlock, light brown, dark brown, mocha, black, red, gold, and caramel. 7 colors to choose from means a mulch to match any exterior. Erickson's Landscape Supply. High-quality mulch and stone for a whole lot less. Commercial or residential, visit ericksonslandscapesupply.com to see our entire selection.
WTMJ's Eric Bilstead here. It's your knee that's bugging you, right? Or is it your back? For some of us, it's the hips. Achy joints with pain you can't get over. Well, there is a way to fix it. There is a way to get lasting pain relief using your own body's healing properties. It's all thanks to QC Kinetics, advanced regenerative medicine. QC Kinetics can help enhance your joints, improve mobility, and get back to doing all the fun things you like to do without pain. No surgery, no painkillers, and no downtime. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in using cellular therapies. If you want to learn more, the consultations are free. You can set up an appointment at QC Kinetics. They have clinics in Mequon and in Greenfield. Here's the number, 414-285-3474. That's 414-285-3474. Call now and get lasting joint pain relief with the help from QC Kinetics. 414-285-3474.
Time for a WTMJ Sports Update from the Gerber Law Offices. One call, that's all sports desk. The Brewers take the series against the Pirates with a 5-2 win today. The final homestand of the regular season starts Friday against the Mets. And stay tuned for Brewers Weekly in just a few minutes. Green Bay Packers quarterback Jordan Love practiced again today as the team preps for Sunday's showdown against the Minnesota Vikings. When asked about playing Sunday, Love's response is that he's still limited. Taking a look at the roads with your Johnson & Sons Paving Time Saver traffic. Roads are looking all clear at this point this evening. No incidents or delays at this time.
Traffic is sponsored by Hall Mazda Milwaukee. Visit hallmazdamilwaukee.com.
While you're navigating the roads as quickly and safely as possible, if you see something we should know about, call the WTMJ Hall Volkswagen Traffic Tip Line, 414-238-9329.
And taking a look at your WTMJ 5-day forecast. Tonight, mainly clear skies, a low of 61. Friday, partly cloudy with a high of 74 by the lake and 77 inland. Saturday, partly cloudy, a slight chance for a shower towards the evening, a high of 72 lakeside, 76 inland. Sunday, partly cloudy with another slight chance for showers, a high of 73 by the lake, 77 inland. And on Monday, partly cloudy skies, a high of 78. Right now in Milwaukee, it's 66 degrees. I'm Jessica Gatso, Siding Unlimited. WTMJ News Time is 8:07.
On the field, inside the clubhouse, and everything in between. This is Brewers Weekly. Here's Dominic Cotroneo.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome into our last Brewers Weekly of the regular season. Yeah, playoffs start Tuesday night. We'll have no idea who the Brewers are playing by Monday afternoon. It is going to be wacky, to say the least. If you're watching on YouTube, remember we share all these clips and you may see it on social media as well. I'm rocking the Kelly Green tonight. I'm wearing the Oakland A's best jersey in baseball. Kelly Green, Oakland. I'll have my final segment talking about the city of Oakland, the Coliseum. As we said goodbye to the Coliseum today, some audio I want you to hear. My personal connection, of course, to the A's. We talked about that when the Brewers were there in the East Bay. last month, but today we put a bow on all of it and say goodbye to the Coliseum for now. The Brewers get the win today over the Pirates. And I don't want to lament too long on today's win, but a fun couple of nuggets that come out of today's win, 5-2. Devin gets another save. Aaron Savali was fantastic. And the Brewers offense once again got the job done without hitting a home run. A bunch of doubles, matched their season high with 5 doubles in a game. The two nuggets that really jump out to me, with a win today, the Brewers clinch that for the rest of the season, there's only 3 games left. That means they will be the only team without a 4-game losing streak. There's only 3 games left, and they won today. That's pretty darn cool. Second, the Brewers won the season series against all 4 opponents in the National League Central with today's win. And you may be thinking, well, yeah, of course, they won the division, Dom. That's what they're supposed to do. Well, you look at the Baltimore Orioles. The Baltimore Orioles won the season series against every opponent in the AL East. They're not winning the division. You look at other teams, they have like the Guardians, they clinched, but they actually only won 8 games against the Chicago White Sox. Like, things get weird sometimes in your division. And for the folks that say, oh, well, the Central's weak, whatever, good for the Brewers, but the Central's a weak division. Well, They did what they were supposed to. They won all of the series against their division, the teams that you play more often than anybody else. And, oh, by the way, they have an above 500 interleague record. It's what they've struggled with the West more than they've struggled with division or interleague. The point is, if somebody wants to bring down the Central, despite the Brewers having won all of those series, it's like, well, what are they supposed to do? What happens if they win the Central and not win the season series against like the Cardinals or the Cubs? How do you feel then? Is that a disappointment because the Cubs couldn't get the season series? Like, the Reds have such weird series wins this year, but they really struggled against the division. What I see is people trying to bring down the Central because it's not the Cubs or the Cardinals winning it. If the Cubs or the Cardinals won this division, you know what they would be saying. Oh, a savvy team like the Brewers, they're always tough to beat. And then you beat the Cubs or you beat the Cardinals, and look at Paul Skeens. They would give every possible moment to give that team flowers. Whereas when the Brewers win the Central, it's like, it was a weak division. Cubs didn't play well. Cardinals, no, forget that. So those are the cool nuggets that I pull away from today's win over the Pirates. Now, the Pirates have pieces. We talked about it in yesterday's postgame show with Craig Kashan. The thought that, okay, Paul Skeen's going to be in this division for a long time. He's probably going to be the NL Rookie of the Year. You've still got Brian Reynolds under control. Ke'Bryan Hayes will hopefully be back healthy next season for their sake. O'Neal Cruz, he did not have his best series. He looked pretty checked out today, not going to lie. I think he would tell you the same. Made a base running blunder, made a fielding blunder. He's a freak athlete. He puts it together. Who knows? And then furthermore, behind Skeens, you've still got Holderman, you've still got Majinski, you've still got Bednar, you've still got Keller, who pitched pretty well today despite the line. There are pieces there, so they're not that far off. The rest of the division isn't that far off too, quite frankly. So we'll see what the final weekend has in store for them. We've already seen one managerial change here in the division with the Reds firing David Bell. I wonder what the Pirates feel about Derek Shelton. I wonder what the Cardinals feel about Oliver Marmol. I don't think he's going anywhere either. We know how the Cubs feel about Craig Counsell. But nonetheless, 855-616-1620. Again, 855-616-1620. That is the phone number. We'll talk more about Aaron Savali. I have a rotation segment planned for what the postseason can look like. We're also going to talk about the to-do list I talked about a month ago on this show. How did the Brewers do for this final month of the season when it comes to the to-do list of what I asked? There are 6 things on this list. Then the scenarios. We'll talk about the doubleheader on Monday, what all of it means, what the Diamondbacks have to do, what the Mets have to do, and what the Braves have to do. We'll also get those pitching thoughts and then finally say goodbye to Oakland. So we're just getting started. 855-616-1620, 855-616-1620. Stay with us here on your home of the Brewers, 620 WTMJ.
Before you go looking for an area rug that you'll have to settle for because you think that the one you really want will be out of your budget, come to Design Exchange, where you'll find a formidable selection of Oriental, Persian, and other wool area rug choices at 25 to 70% off retail. This is Katie with Design Exchange, where discerning buyers with discriminating tastes come to find premium home decor on consignment at a value. Design Exchange in Heartland and Pewaukee.
Design Exchange.
If you're trying to find really good, high-end, distinctive furniture, the kind they just don't make anymore, then come to Design Exchange. But you better get here quickly, because the best furniture we take in on consignment doesn't usually last long. It may be vintage, it may have once been out of your range, but now you'll find it's priced right. This is Katie with Design Exchange, where discerning buyers with discriminating tastes come to find premium home decor at a value.
Design Exchange. We keep you safe, warm, and dry. Semper Fi.
SemperFiRoofing.com.
Accunet Mortgage is an equal housing lender. NMLS ID 255368.
This is Chief Rate Watcher Brian Wickert. Well, the Federal Reserve finally cut their overnight interest rate by 0.5%. But mortgage rates already had this cut baked in. Good news is Accunet can deliver a 30-year fixed APR between 5.7% and 6.4% on a $260,000 30-year fixed rate loan with 25% down payment and all the other best attributes. The APR depends on how much you want to spend in closing costs and a lot of other factors. Now, will lower mortgage rates get more homeowners to list their homes for sale? Maybe a little, but it's almost certain more buyers will come off the sidelines, which is why you need a highly skilled Accunet loan consultant more than ever, along with our rock-solid guaranteed pre-approval to help get your offer accepted. It's also a good time to take a look at a genuine zero loan cost refi. Whatever you do, don't settle for a flimsy pre-approval or high closing costs from your bank or other lender. Click on the blue button today for a no-pressure refi checkup or to get started with your rock-solid guaranteed pre-approval. That's ACCUNET.com.
Brewers Weekly on WTMJ.
Welcome back. I'm Dom Cotroneo. Less so much about the game today. We'll talk about Savali later. A couple of texts. This one from the 262. Do we got a location for the start of that riot if Bryce Terang doesn't win the gold and platinum glove? That was a funny tweet today from the Brewers official Twitter account. But the platinum glove is going to be tough. There tends to be a bias toward catchers on that. The gold glove, I'm ready. Like, do we need to go? Where's Rawlings headquartered? I think of Louisville Slugger in Louisville. I forget where Rawlings is headquartered. But nonetheless, like, come on. It's so clear. I was having a conversation with Pat Murphy earlier this week about that as they prepare to go through the gold glove voting. There's a whole minutia to it and everything, and all the coaches and everybody are presented with the stats in front of them. The stats look really, really good on Bryce Terang. He made another incredible play today for the Brewers in their victory 5-2. He leads all defenders, regardless of position, in defensive runs saved, which is a very important statistic when it comes to how you are viewed for the Gold Glove and for the Platinum Glove. So, good question there. This one, David in Superior. Would sure like to face the Mets or the Braves after their doubleheader on Monday. How do these teams compare, and who do you think would be the better matchup for the Brewers? Seeing the Mets will have just seen us over the weekend. And I can confirm the Mets are on the ground here. They arrived earlier this afternoon. In fact, I just bumped into former Brewer Eddie Alvarez out here in 3rd Street Market Hall. So shout out to Eddie. Congratulations on all your success being back in the big leagues. Former Olympian, of course. Eddie's a great dude. Anyway, that stuff, the matchups, that'll all be in the scenario segment a little bit later on here in the program. Right now, we're checking on the to-do list. And if you want to get a text in or a question in, 855-616-1620, 855-616-1620. Here was the to-do list that I had, the 6 items back in August with 26 games to go. Here are the 6 things that I laid out. Number 1, figure out who is going to be your leverage bullpen and who is going to be your bridge bullpen. Number 2, audition your starters. Figure out who is going to be a starter in the postseason. Guys like Freddie Peralta, who had just come off 6 shutout innings that day against the Giants. Guys like Frankie Montas are starting to hit his groove. Aaron Savali was hitting his groove. Colin Ray was still firmly in the picture at this point. But we said audition your starters. They went to a 6-man rotation briefly, figuring out what they wanted there. Number 3, speaking of that 6-man rotation, figure out what you want to do with DL Hall. Is he going to be a starter or is he going to be a reliever for this year? Down the road, he can be a starter, but what is he going to be for this final month plus of the year? Number 4, try to keep William going. Using the 3-catcher setup to your advantage. Give William days when he needs it. We'll talk about that in a moment. Number 5, can you find a way to keep Jake Bauers fresh? Because I don't know if you've paid attention or not, the Brewers are actually 25 games above 500 in games that Jake Bauers starts. There's a multitude of ways he impacts the game. I know some folks see his batting average and immediately light their torches. He's a really good defender at first base. He gives you a tough at-bat. He can draw a walk. He's valuable off the bench as a pinch hitter. But yesterday, hitting a home run, that was useful. Brewers obviously lost the game. Reminder that the Brewers just have a serious lack of lefty pop right now. And he hasn't necessarily been hitting a ton of homers, but he is super helpful when it comes to balancing the lineup and figuring out how an opposing manager could try to solve the riddle. And then if they bring in a leverage lefty like they did today to face Jake Bauers, you can go to a righty on your bench. Today it happened to be Rhys Hoskins. I don't think that would be the case in the postseason. Anyway, and then the last thing, speaking of Rhys, to talk about was get Rhys Hoskins going. I think we've got to that. So let's start there. Let's start with some of these offensive stuff. Then we'll get to the pitching in the next segment. Did the Brewers get Rhys going here in the month of September? I'd argue yes. He's swinging the bat a little bit better right now. He's still striking out a little bit too much for my liking, and his liking as well. But here are the numbers. In August, it was a low. A 189 average in the month of August. Only a 604 OPS. He had 29 strikeouts and only 9 walks for the entire month of August. Well, here in September, with 3 more games to go still, he's hitting 230. That may not sound extravagant, but for a guy like him who's a bona fide slugger, he's there to hit homers. He's not there to hit for average. It's an improvement up, obviously, 30 points, or 40 points, rather, from what it was in the month of August. And his OPS went up by 170 points from last month to this month, just in those individual splits. So that's good news that he's getting going. The big thing that jumps out to me, we've talked about this plenty with Rhys, is the walks. He's got 10 walks this month. That's more than he had all month last month. He's approaching the most he's had in the month. He's on base quite a bit, over 350 on base percentage. He got on base 4 different ways on Tuesday night. Getting him going, whether it's just getting on or hitting homers, both count, and I think he has done a very good job of getting that right for him. Next up, we talked briefly about Jake Bauers. I'm going to put this as a TBD, not quite a full check, just like a light check mark. I definitely put a check mark on Rhys. Put a light check on Jake Bauers, keep him fresh, keep him involved. They haven't needed him in the outfield. He is clearly first base. He is clearly pinch hitter. He is clearly maybe a defensive replacement late in the game in the postseason if Rhys Hoskins is playing first. Because I believe their best lineup setup is not using, let's say they're facing a righty, right? Is not using Jake as a DH. I could see a scenario where if a righty is starting against the Brewers in the postseason, I see a scenario where Jake's on the bench, Rhys is at first, and maybe Garrett Mitchell is your designated hitter, because then they bring in a leverage lefty to face Garrett. Boom, you counter with Gary or Eric Haas, for that matter. Kurt Hogue wrote an article about that today in the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. So that's my thought of the optimum lineup against the righty. He obviously would not start against the lefty. So that's a half check for Bauers. Keep William going. Did he keep going? Now, he was on a ridiculous tear. He hit 9 homers in the month of August. He had like 16 extra base hits. That was an insane level of production to continue, especially as a catcher. While it's a down step from that, it's on par with the rest of his season averages here in the month of September. So I'm definitely putting that as a check mark, as how impressive he was here this month and what he's been doing. He's got 3 homers, which is a little bit of a slowdown for him. But furthermore, he's not catching every day. He's still hitting 261. His on base is 373 this month. He's just had an incredible year, and I was kind of going through a hypothetical, if I had a ballot for MVP and you get 10 votes, I think he's going to be a top 7 MVP this year. I really do. Just by WAR, just by what he's done production-wise. I mean, it's a great question. Who has more value, Elly De La Cruz or William Contreras? Elly on a bad team, William on a winning team, and playing everyday catcher. So I wonder how the voters are going to go on that. But they've definitely kept William going. Up next, we'll talk about the pitching side of these check marks and then lead us into the scenarios and the thoughts as well for the pitching rotation in the postseason. Brewers Weekly rolling on to the top of the hour right here in your home of the Brewers, 620 WTMJ.
Fall is on its way, which means you need to make sure your house is up to snuff before the cold hits. WTMJ's Debbie Lazaga here for the WTMJ Home Improvement Showcase. Join us every week as we highlight services provided by our great partners, including Comfort Awnings and Bruce's team with Realty Executives Integrity. And they'll get you and your home ready for whatever season Wisconsin holds. It's the WTMJ Fall Home Improvement Showcase. Find out more at WTMJ.com.
I was stuffed up. It was almost like someone put a clothespin over my nose. As an athlete, it did affect my performance. And as I got older, the congestion and poor sleep really took their toll.
Mike's a lifetime athlete. After hearing about Advent, he felt he could finally find a solution to his breathing triangle problems.
With my congestion, the kind of sleep I was getting wasn't allowing me to function the way I wanted to.
When your nose isn't working like it should be, it's going to negatively affect your sleep. And then you really can't be at your best at anything that you're doing.
It's been about 5 years since coming to Advent, and what balloon sinuplasty did for my quality of life, that step I took was one of the best decisions I've ever made.
Balloon sinuplasty can help solve your breathing triangle problems, which will help you sleep better. And that's going to help you live a better quality of life.
Unlock your potential. Go to adventknows.com to schedule your appointment, because when you breathe well, you live better. Results may vary.
Check this out. There's free pizza today at the Mind Chef restaurant in Hartford. WTMJ's John Mercure here. I love the Mind Chef pizza. Best cheese, best crust. I love the pepperoni. Every Thursday when you buy one pizza, you get a second pizza for free. Buy 2 pizzas, get 2 free. Buy 10, get 10 free pizzas, any size or quantity. Hey, coaches, bring in your football, soccer, cross-country, volleyball, swim team. Beef up on the free pizza. Your players will also love the Mind Chef's world-class game room. It's super affordable team bonding. Bring in pizza today for your loyal employees and your clients. They'll appreciate you, and they'll love that pizza. And your second one's free. Business owners, managers, order now, pick up your pizza shortly, or dine in. The Friday 2-piece dine-in fish fry is just $4.99. That is nuts. The Mind Chef in downtown Hartford and in Oshkosh. Don't turn your oven on. Just walk in today for your free pizza with plenty to take home for tomorrow. MindChefRestaurant.com, the amazing Mind Chef.
It's Brewers Weekly on WTMJ.
Rolling on with our checklist from about a month ago. I'm Dom Cotroneo. Brewers Weekly. Mets come to town, 7:10 tomorrow night, 6:15 on Saturday, then 2:10 on Sunday. Everybody plays at the same time on Sunday. I kind of wondered if they were going to move that game up just to give the chance for the Mets to get out of town. Nope. Staying put. 2 o'clock. Anyway, back to the checklist here. Now the pitching side of this checklist. Let's start with the leverage versus the bridge bullpen. What did the Brewers figure out in this final month, and is there anything still left to be figured out? I wrote out a hypothetical here that for the wild card round, the Brewers only need 3 starters. And as of now, these guys will come up in a moment, my 3 starters for the wild card would be, not necessarily in this order, Freddie Peralta, Frankie Montas, and Aaron Savali. Those are the 3 traditional starters I would use. So that leaves, remember, you can have a maximum of 13 pitchers on the 26-man roster. You don't need to have all 13 pitchers. So I saw a scenario, though, just for kicks and giggles, let's put 13 pitchers on the roster because you can. And I think the Brewers are going to be okay with that. Maybe they'll do 12. But let's say, for the sake of this argument, let's dream for a minute and let's talk about 10 relievers being available to the Brewers in addition to those 3 starters. Here are my bridge guys. Colin Ray, DL Hall, and Joe Ross. Those are maybe the starter didn't go long. These guys can still get you outs. They can go multiple innings. They're not necessarily going to be throwing in the 7th, 8th, or 9th inning of a game, but they're still very important. The low leverage guys, I still want to see a little bit more from Nick Mears. I didn't dislike what I saw today. Of course, I disliked seeing a home run, but the velo was there. Once he gets more command of that slider, that can be interesting. And the worst-case scenario is, okay, he's just left off the postseason roster. Then I just dreamed for a moment, if you have 10 relievers, you have room with that 10th spot to be Jacob Misiorowski. He is staying fresh in Arizona right now. I wonder if we're going to see him at the ballpark tomorrow. Because what organizations will do for the postseason is they will bring prospects or players they think that are going to be involved in their program next year to just observe. They don't get announced. They don't get into the line, but they're in uniform in the dugout getting to watch this environment and rocking October baseball at American Family Field. So I wonder if we see Miz around this week as part of the taxi squad, because we already see Carlos Rodriguez part of the taxi squad right now. So that leads me to the leverage bullpen guys. Those will be Devin Williams, of course, Trevor McGill, of course, Aaron Ashby, of course, Yoel Payamps, of course, Jared Koenig, and Brian Hudson. Yeah, Brian Hudson's absolutely on my postseason roster. Has to be. And Pat Murphy hinted at that this week, that he doesn't have to pitch again in the big leagues this year. He's been a month down now in AAA, and their season's over. So he's in Arizona right now staying sharp again. I wonder if we see him in the ballpark this weekend. That, hey, he can stay sharp down there, work on his mechanics, and then we'll see him in October. I do think. And by the way, that's 6 names that you have in leverage of the 10 pitchers that I just named for your bullpen. 6 of the 10 guys can pitch in leverage. Whew. Those are some riches right there. But the realistic one, again, 10 pitchers. I'm not putting Mizorowski on this. But realistically, I could see the postseason roster with 13 pitchers, the 3 starters being Freddie, Frankie, and Savali. Then the 10 pitchers being Devin Williams, Trevor McGill, Aaron Ashby, Yoel Payamps, Brian Hudson, Jared Koenig, Colin Ray, D.L. Hall, Joe Ross, and Nick Mears. I think that's a pretty darn good bullpen if you ask me. And that's just for the first round. You can mix and match moving on, and I imagine Tobias Myers would be on a DS roster to be a starter, and most definitely on a CS roster when you need one more. Something to keep in mind. Because I think Tobias is going to have to start game 162 for the Brewers just to keep some innings fresh and not have to make a roster move in order to have him available. Other pitching questions, kind of answering one of them here with DL Hall. What are you going to do with DL? I think he's going to be a bridge guy. He can give you 2 innings if you need it. Maybe there's a string of lefties. Let's say you're facing the Diamondbacks, right? And they've got so many left-handed hitters on their team. I know they've got some talented right-handed hitters off their bench, and you don't want to have Ketel Marte hit from the right side, but to have DL Hall or Aaron Ashby or Brian Hudson, all 3 lefties that can go multiple innings, will be very important if they face a team like the Diamondbacks. So they figured out DL Hall's role. And then finally, this will lead us into the pitching segment next. All right, who are your starters? How are you going to roll with this? Are you going to do an opener? Are you going to do bullpen games? Are you going to use those 3 guys that I just mentioned traditionally? Well, Brewers suddenly have some hard decisions to make. Does Tobias have a role in the wild card round? Does Colin Ray? We'll talk about that coming up next. 855-616-1620. 855-616-1620. About halfway through the program. More talking about pitching next on 620 WTMJ.
We will only sell products we believe in. And we believe in Armstrong Air Furnaces. With variable speed blower and multi-stage performance, Armstrong Air's most advanced furnaces deliver the highest number of features, the most comfort, and the greatest efficiency. This is Anthony Zanevsky with Quality Heating. To me, Armstrong Air is the professional's choice. So see the man in the red van, and we'll get you a furnace you can rely on for the long haul.
You gotta see the man in the red van. Quality Heating, Quality Heating.
When you need emergency service 24/7, any time of the day, any day of the year, call Quality Heating. With one of Wisconsin's largest HVAC fleets, you can count on us being there in a hurry. So don't worry. This is Anthony Zanevsky with Quality Heating. When you're in a heating or air conditioning jam, just see the man in the red van. And he's going to have a master plan to make sure you stay comfortable.
You gotta see the man in the red van. Quality Heating, Quality Heating.
Start your weekend tonight with a free dinner at the historic and gorgeous Fox and Hound Supper Club. WTMJ's John Mercure here. I love the Fox and Hounds. It is the best dining value in the state. Your second dinner is always free. Steak, ribs, seafood, pasta, a big fresh salad, any dinner item on the menu, your second one is free. Desserts and ice cream drinks, yeah, and they're huge. Buy one, get one free. So relax with your favorite beverage in the 8 unique dining rooms or on the patio in the woods. Spectacular views. I love the patio. Celebrate a birthday, an anniversary, or just a quiet dinner with your sweetie. Your second dinner is always free. The Fox and Hounds, just off Highway 167, 2 miles east of the beautiful Holy Hill Shrine. The drive through the Kettle Moraine Forest is a must-see. Weekends might be too busy. Enjoy your free dinner tonight. And the Friday Fish Fry is all you care to eat and one of the best. Visit foxandhoundsrestaurant.com. Enjoy your free dinner. Tables are open. It's the famous Fox and Hounds.
This is Brewers Weekly on WTMJ.
Welcome back. I'm Tom Cotroneo. Another 30 minutes or so here in the show. We'll talk about the scenarios and everything that goes down with this doubleheader looming on Monday for the Braves and the Royals. Or not the Royals, sorry. The Braves and Royals play this weekend. Braves and Mets. And could this series impact that series? What's going on with San Diego and Arizona and all that fun stuff. So here we're talking about, regardless of opponent, how the Brewers are going to roll with their starting rotation in the wild card series. It's been virtually confirmed that Freddie Peralta is going to throw Game 1 on Tuesday. So there's no mystery involved with that. In fact, the media talked about it yesterday with Freddie, and that he knows he's going to get the ball on Tuesday. And that would be on that extra day of rest for him. But after the way Aaron Savali pitched today, 6 shutout frames against the Pirates, he's been pitching very well over the last month or so since coming here to the Brewers, a sub-3 ERA in that time. Do you put him in Game 2 now? And that would be on normal rest. That would be on the 5th day for a starter. Or do you put Frankie there with the extra day rest, and then you keep Savali ready as a just-in-case with potentially Tobias Myers? Now, if you keep both of those guys active on the roster, you take one less arm out of your bullpen. You can't change your roster unless there's an injury once the series has begun. And to me, I really like, if this series goes 3 games in a wild card series, I like the thought of having Tobias Myers ready to go in the wings. If he has to start Game 162, have him ready to go for Game 1 of a DS. Because the Brewers have something they haven't really had over the last few years, is options. I mean, like, you knew last year it was going to be Burns, Woodruff, and Peralta. Then we found out about Woodruff's shoulder right before the series began. And you're like, okay, if they go a third game, it's going to be a figure-it-out game. And the Brewers don't have that scenario right now, where they have multiple options to choose for a Game 3 and for a Game 1 of the DS. For me, Savali can give you length. He has enough tools in the belt that can use a third time through, at least maybe face that top. But again, I don't think any of these starters are going to need to see a lineup for a third time through against a playoff opponent. So let's look at these. Let's say it's the Braves, right? And these 3 guys that we're talking about, they're all right-handed. And Freddie's actually had some trouble with right-handed hitters this year, but here's what I'm leading with that. Let's say you're playing the Braves. Okay, their best hitters are right-handed. You've got Jorge Soler, you've got Marcell Ozuna, you've got Ozzie Albies, who's back. I know you're thinking, Dom, he's a switch hitter. No, he's only hitting right-handed right now because he's still experiencing wrist discomfort when he swings left-handed. So Ozzie will be hitting right-handed. And then you've got a couple of talented lefties like Matt Olson and Michael Harris, but those righties got some pop, so you got to think about that. I doubt Freddie would see Ozuna or Soler a third time through, or Albies a third time through. That's where you hand the ball to like a Yoel Payamps, your leverage righty that you have in maybe the 5th or the 6th inning. Then you give it to Ashby to give you multiple frames. Okay, well, let's say it's the Diamondbacks. Okay, well, top of their order is Corbin Carroll, who's a lefty. Then it's Ketel Marte, who you don't want to bat right-handed. You want him to bat left-handed. Still very talented hitter nonetheless. And then you've got Christian Walker, or you've got Jock Peterson. The point is there are a couple moves if you bring in a lefty to face the lefties at the top, Carroll and Peterson, that, okay, well, Ketel will hit from his better side. They're not going to pitch hit Corbin Carroll. They're going to pitch hit with Randall Grichuk to come in off the bench like we saw him do the last 2 weekends. So again, you think about it, the Brewers have a counter for the Diamondbacks of what they want to do. Okay, well, what about the Mets? The Mets are extremely right-handed. We don't know Francisco Lindor's health status. He did not play on Tuesday against the Braves. He's a switch hitter. So he could bat from the left side against these righties. He's good on both sides of the plate. Then, aside from that, the only lefties are Brandon Nimmo, who's meh power, but he's got a serious bat-to-ball ability, and Jesse Winker. And there's going to be some boo birds out for Jesse, I know that. But I like the Brewers. I mean, their righties would be a couple of young players like Francisco Alvarez, who's hot right now, Mark Vientos, who's had one of the more underrated seasons in all of baseball, their third baseman. You've got Alonso to worry about. You've got Tyrone Taylor, old friend, who will probably be in the starting lineup for the Mets. We'll see him this weekend. And then you just have to sit here and think, okay, well, again, I can go to Piops. Maybe they counter with a lefty off the bench. They don't really have much off the bench do the Mets. I sit here, I'm like, all right, well, I don't really lose an advantage. The fact that I'm starting three righties. And if it's Freddie, if it's Frankie, if it's Aaron, in my order, personally, I would go Freddie game 1, Savali game 2, Montas game 3. That's my order. I think the Brewers are going to flip those last two. Or they'll go with an opener and shock us all. But maybe if you asked me 2 weeks ago, I said they were going to definitely use an opener. Now I don't feel so certain. But I do know for certain there are not going to be many third-time through at-bats against the Brewers starters. I do think it's going to be Freddie, Frankie, Aaron, in that order. I would flip the last two. But nobody cares what I think. I'm just a guy talking about baseball. That's our quick look at the rotation. Up next, what the heck's going on with these standings? Let's try to make it make sense. The tiebreakers you need to know, and a quick peek at the American League, too. The Tigers, they won again today. Back with more after this on 620 WTMJ.
Hi, this is Michelle Voskel, CPA and team member at the Neal Group. Do you wake up every day raring to go? Or do you dread waking up and worrying about if you are going to make payroll, how to pay your vendors, where to find customers, and how to collect the cash you are owed? Do you know how much cash you need to run your business? Are your books current and up to date to give you that information? If you answered no to any of these questions, we can help. We work with clients to develop systems and procedures to improve their business and give them the information they need to know where their business is now and where it is going in the future. Where do you want to be in 1, 3, or 5 years? Out of debt? Retired? Not working 60 hours a week? Don't wait. Start on the path to less stress, more cash in your pocket, and no more sleepless nights. Visit nealgroup.net today to book a meeting. We can talk over Zoom, the phone, in our office, or your place of business. Yes, we make house calls. Don't wait any longer. Visit nealgroup.net. That's N-E-A-L group.net.
Phones aren't wired to the wall anymore. We carry them in our pockets. Cars can even drive themselves, right? Technology advances have changed our lives.
That's football legend Emmitt Smith.
Some of the most fascinating advances are happening with the medical professionals at QC Kinetics. I'm talking about natural regenerative treatments for joint pain without surgery or harmful drugs.
Tens of thousands of patients have discovered these breakthroughs firsthand at QC Kinetics. With over 100 board-certified providers across the country, they're transforming the world of pain treatment using your body's own healing properties to help restore your aching joints.
Why would you keep going back to the old tired ways of treating chronic joint pain? Check out the latest advances at QC Kinetics. And here's an idea for you. You can call them on that smartphone right there in your pocket.
Call QC Kinetics, 414-285-3474. That's 414-285-3474. 414-285-3474.
Lock in for October. Brewers postseason tickets are on sale now. Clear your schedule, claim your spot, and be here for a Brewers postseason run you don't want to miss at brewers.com/postseason.
Amish outdoor furniture with poly and wood available. And that poly is the richest of outdoor furniture. It's just about indestructible and will virtually last forever. At Erickson's, we have poly furniture in abundance, so you're guaranteed to see a great selection. The beauty of it is you can put it outside all year round and not worry about it, because the color runs all the way through, so it doesn't fade, and minor nicks and scratches won't hurt the look. Erickson's Landscape Supply, for an abundant selection of poly and wood Amish outdoor furniture. Visit ericksonslandscapesupply.com to see our entire selection. You'll be hard-pressed to find a better selection of metal yard art than we have here at Erickson's. Anything from natural and painted metal signs to painted roosters from 1 to 6 feet tall. Natural steel flying ducks and cattails. Cute little frogs, geckos, pigs, flamingos, and goats. And palm trees. The list is endless. And that's why you come here. Erickson's Landscape Supply, right on Spring Street in Union Grove, where you'll find a fantastic array of artisanal metal yard art. Visit ericksonslandscapesupply.com to see our entire selection. Or better yet, drive on over and take a gander at the goods.
Brewers Weekly on WTMJ.
Okay, let's put our thinking caps on all together here. I'm Dom Cotroneo. Let's figure out what the heck is going on in the wild card race. As things stand right now, the Diamondbacks are in. They would be the third wild card team. The Mets are in. They would be the second wild card team, meaning they would be going to San Diego. That was clinched last night, by the way, or the not clinched last night, but virtually certain. The teams would need to run the table, meaning the Dodgers would have to lose out and the Padres would have to win out for the Padres to win the West. So they're about to get started, by the way, out in L.A. as the Dodgers and the Padres. So let's just assume for this scenario's sake, San Diego's the number one wild card team. However, the Diamondbacks host the Padres this weekend. That's going to be tough. That also has the season series on the line. You've got the Braves and the Mets caught in this loop where the Braves have openly said they're going to keep an eye on what's going on in Arizona before deciding what pitchers they throw this weekend against the Royals. We know Max Fried will go tomorrow. They are going to save Chris Sale for Saturday or Sunday, depending on what happens with the Diamondbacks. If they don't need to pitch him, they won't pitch him. Or if they are facing elimination and they need to win to stay alive, they will pitch Chris Sale, and Reynaldo Lopez will be a wild card in all this. Then you got the Mets, who are, of course, playing here in Milwaukee. And then they go and meet each other, the Braves and the Mets do, on Monday for a doubleheader. Quick thing about that doubleheader. It is in Atlanta. It starts at 1 o'clock. If the way things shake out this weekend mean that they only need to play one game and the results won't be impacted at all, they will only play one game. Meaning, let's say for one scenario, the Mets lose their series here in Milwaukee. The Brewers take 2 out of 3. That would give the Mets 88 wins. And in that same scenario, let's say the Diamondbacks pull it off and win their series against the Padres. So that would give them 90 wins. And for the sake of all of this, let's say the Braves win their series, but not sweep against the Royals. That would give them 88 wins, the same number as the Mets. So this scenario means the Diamondbacks are in. If they play game 1 of the doubleheader and the Braves win that game, that means they have won the season series. They have guaranteed the Mets can't get past 89 wins, which means they won't catch the Diamondbacks, but they cannot match the Braves because the Braves will have the tiebreaker. But they would still play that game, that second game, because the Braves have the tiebreaker on the Diamondbacks, which then determines, well, if Arizona and Atlanta end up tied, Atlanta would be the 2 seed, and Arizona would be coming here. That's just a taste of the chaos that we could be faced with on Monday, deciding if they're going to play both games, if the second game matters to both teams, to just one team, to the Diamondbacks, to all of this. The 2 ways that this can get wacky are if the Diamondbacks lose their series and the Braves win their series. It's less so of what happens with the Mets, because we know they have to play at least one game on Monday. We know that, unless the Braves get swept and the Mets sweep the Brewers somehow, which, with respect, I don't think is happening. The reason why the sweeps would make things weird is because, well, Atlanta would be stuck at 86 wins. The Mets would be at 90 wins, and there'd be no reason to play that doubleheader, given the Mets have the tiebreaker on the Diamondbacks. So we'll keep an eye on what happens with that. I mean, it is literally going to change by the minute based on the games that are occurring, and we'll be staying up late watching Padres, Diamondbacks this weekend to try to make sense of it all. But the biggest things to remember, the Diamondbacks do not have a tiebreaker, meaning if Arizona ends up tied with either Atlanta or New York as the 2 and 3, right? If they end up with the same number of wins after that doubleheader on Monday, Arizona is going to be the team ending up here because they lost their season series head-to-head. I know that doesn't make a lot of fans happy, but that's the truth. And that's what's scary about all this, is that the Brewers, they don't really have a say in this. Because, sure, they can sweep the Mets, right? Let's say they sweep the Mets. The Mets are stuck at 87 wins. Even if the Braves win their series, they're at 88 wins, so they're only one game ahead of Atlanta. And let's say the Diamondbacks lose their series, they're stuck at 89 wins. So they still got to play that doubleheader, and if the Mets win both of those games, Arizona's coming here. It's just, none of it makes sense. I can't even tell you, okay, well, you got to root for this team, not this team. Because the scenario is so odd where they could play both games, they could play one game. I think a lot of fans will root for any scenario that does not involve Arizona coming back here, referring to last year's team. But Pat Murphy has pleaded over and over and over again, like, hey, last year's Diamondbacks team is different than this year's team. This year's Brewers team is different than last year's team. I'm in charge. That's the gist of it. But I don't want to face Diamondbacks again. And then some from the peanut gallery would like to say, well, you're going to play the Mets and they're hot. They're going to be pissed off. They're not going to know any better. They're just going to go play in a doubleheader and then come right back here to Milwaukee. They're going to be mad. Okay, cool. Play better. I just still think the Brewers are the more complete team than all three of these teams. Like, every team has flaws. I'm not saying the Brewers don't have flaws. But the Diamondbacks, their flaw is their bridge bullpen and maybe their starting rotation. Their offense covers up a lot of warts. The Mets' flaw is their bullpen and their bench depth. They don't have a lot of pinch hit capabilities, and the health of Francisco Lindor is kind of a dark cloud over them right now. But I don't really trust their bullpen right now. Now, Edwin Diaz was great in their final series against the Phillies last weekend. And then for the Braves, their starting lineup is a little bit different than what it's supposed to be, right? No Acuna, no Riley. Olsen has been hot in September, but he hasn't been himself all year. Murphy's been bad in September. Arcia's been bad. Kelnick's been meh. So it's not the same Braves offense that you're used to being scared of, but their bullpen and their starting pitching is sneaky good. I mean, the end of the game, Raisel Iglesias and Joe Jimenez and Pierce Johnson, those are some pretty good arms. And, of course, the Cy Young winner, soon to be Chris Sale. So they would be an imposing challenge for the Brewers. And I said this a few weeks ago, I'll say it again. Every team you face from here on out is a good team. Okay, it's not trying to say like, oh, well, we'd rather face this team because they're bad. No. They're all good teams. They're all playoff caliber teams. That's what I love about the way things shook out here this year. Every team deserves it. And the fact that we have 3 teams for 2 spots race, yeah, these teams have played well enough to be considered in the postseason. Real quick, American League side, then we'll take our last break. Detroit won again today. New York's about to clinch the East. They're 3 outs away from doing so. That would lock Baltimore in the number 1 wildcard spot. They would be currently hosting Kansas City. Both Detroit and Kansas City won today. Oh, by the way, the Marlins are up 4-2 on the Twins. And if the Twins lose today, they would need to run the table to make it into the playoffs. They would need to run the table against the Orioles. Don't like those odds. Furthermore, Detroit, they finished with the White Sox. And shout out to the White Sox. They just swept the Angels to avoid having the 121st loss be at home. Now it's just going to be in Detroit instead. But they're still going to get that 121st loss to set the record. So shout out to the American League wild card. That's the last thing to decide, aside from here in the National League. But it should be a fun final weekend. Exactly what baseball meant when they wanted to expand these playoffs. Okay, one thing that baseball got wrong is the jersey that I'm wearing right now. I'm wearing the Oakland A's Kelly Green jersey if you're watching on YouTube. Our final segment will be my ode to the Coliseum. I'm going to try to keep it together. I'm really still choked up about it. Brought tears to my eyes earlier today watching the last game from the Coliseum. That's how we're going to wrap up the show. So if you don't, no more Brewers talk from here forward. So if you don't care, if you're listening on the podcast or if you got something else, you can go ahead and cut it here. I do want to talk about the Oakland A's and what they mean to me, what they mean to my family, and what the Coliseum means to the rest of Major League Baseball. That's after the break on WTMJ.
New manager.
You're going to believe that there's a reason this group ended up first place, wire to wire.
New team.
Jackson Churiel, the Wonder Kid, strikes again.
Same old crew.
Swing and a drive to right and deep. Get up! Get up! Get out of here! Go!
It's playoff baseball season. We've got a pennant in our sights. The Hunt for Brew October on WTMJ is sponsored by Delta Dental.
Visit family-owned Ken Michaels Furniture and our in-store design centers where you'll still find beautiful, luxurious, heirloom-quality American-made furniture. Right now, save 30 to 35% store-wide and take advantage of our complimentary design services. Whether you're moving, renovating, or updating, our designers will help your vision become a reality. Visit Ken Michaels Furniture in Brookfield on Capitol Drive and in Greenfield on Highway 100 to save 30 to 35% store-wide today. Sleep better and save more with mattresses from Milwaukee Mattress and Ken Michaels Furniture. Handcrafted in our Milwaukee factory, our mattresses utilize natural materials like cotton cushioning, which dissipates body heat, Joma wool quilts for warm wintry nights and cool summer evenings, and natural latex providing superior conformability and pressure relief for aching joints. Stop in today at any Ken Michaels Furniture store and save up to 50% compared to national brands.
Siding Unlimited, named the best window installers, not just here, but in the whole USA. Get the best. Siding Unlimited, 3-time winner as America's best window installer. For windows, you call Siding Unlimited first and directly. SidingUnlimited.com.
Hey, this is Steve Scafidi for Advent. I had some snoring issues that kept my wife up at night. That led to poor sleep and a lot of tired mornings on the radio, and nobody wants that, trust me. But it's simply, my nose wasn't working the way it should. I decided to go to Advent for a quick 30-minute visit, one of their great facilities, talk to a bunch of their doctors. They really put me at ease. After a really simple sleep study at home, in my own bed, they determined the root cause of my problem had to do with my sinuses and nasal passages in my breathing triangle. I didn't even know I had a breathing triangle, so I went to see Advent. After a short procedure done in office, I'm back to breathing well, and my wife and I are both back to sleeping through the whole night. The best sleep we've ever had, that could be you. If you struggle with restless nights like I did, take the time to see how Advent can help. To find out how breathing well and sleeping well can make your life and your nights a whole lot better, go to AdventKnows.com, schedule an appointment today. Because Advent knows, when you breathe well, you live better.
It's Brewers Weekly on WTMJ.
This text from Sam in New Berlin. I care what you think. Thank you, Sam. Not many people do. But I'm going to get on a soapbox here for these final 2.5 minutes or so. I want to play a really important clip. That was from Mark Kotze earlier today as the Brewers played their final game at the Oakland Coliseum 57 years later. They are done in Oakland at the will of John Fisher and John Fisher alone to leave all of the history behind, to leave 48,000 fans behind. They didn't even open Mount Davis, mind you, and they sold the place out. And for the millionth time, this was never a fans issue. This was an ownership issue. And the thing that just irks me still to this day, the Brewers, while they wait, or not the Brewers, sorry, the A's, while they wait for Vegas to allegedly be built, mind you, no dirt has been moved, no renderings have been actually released. The ones you see, those aren't real. They also have not released a financing plan. John Fisher has always said, I'm good for it, I'm good for it, I'm good for it. Plot twist, he's not. Furthermore, this was voted 30-0 by the owners to approve the A's to play temporarily in a Triple-A stadium. This is the big leagues. And they're going to go to Sacramento. This is not a knock on Sacramento. It's a knock on the fact they're still going to the minor leagues. They have to put AstroTurf in. It's going to be 110 degrees in the summer in an outdoor venue with temporary seating, with a temporary clubhouse, with a temporary weight room, when all of that is permanently in Oakland.
The team is being ripped from them without their love and without their history. The A's have just been incredible. And I said this in Oakland when the Brewers were there, and I'll play this clip from Mark Kotsay, and this is how we'll sign off the show. The Brewers chant, or the A's chant, is the best chant in baseball because it's not "Let's go A's," it's "Let's go Oakland." So my thanks to you for listening, letting me get on this soapbox. Enjoy this moment from today at the Coliseum from Mark Kotsay.
I want to thank you guys for coming out to share this moment with the club that I'm so proud of. We've played our asses off this year. We still got 3 left. I think we all should pay homage to this amazing stadium that we've had the privilege and pleasure of enjoying for 57 years. And I ask you for one more time to start the greatest year in baseball. Let's go Oakland!
So if you're selling a $2 million home and you found yourself what you thought was a pretty good deal on your real estate commission, at say about 3.6%, you'd pay $72,000 in real estate commission. Not bad, right? Well, your Benefit Realty agent will charge you no more than $19,000 no matter what size